What is wheel compliance? Do we actually need stiff wheels? And what does it mean to be vertically stiff yet laterally compliant? It sounds like marketing BS, so let's dive into this subject much deeper so you can decide for yourself. If you want to see more videos like this where we deep dive into a subject, then please hit that like button, as it really does contribute to us producing free content like this for you in the future. And if you're new to the channel, think about hitting that subscribe button too. To be stiff means to resist deformation when load is applied. To be compliant is the opposite. It allows deformation to occur when load is applied. In the context of wheels, a stiff wheel means that it won't bend or deform under load, which means that it won't bend under pedaling forces, it won't deform into corners, and this means it will transfer the energy to the rider. They will be very efficient and very precise, and that's why we see stiffer wheels marketed towards cross-country riders and road cyclists. In the context of mountain biking, particularly trail, enduro, and downhill, a stiff set of wheels can actually ping off technical terrain. They might even be fatiguing. They may even give you arm pump. That's because if a bike isn't absorbing the energy from the trails, then you most likely are. So we do tend to see more compliant wheels marketed to this section of the mountain biking community. So, how can a company claim that a wheel is both stiff for power transfer, but also compliant for technical terrain? A compliant rim will deform under load, which means it will bend and deflect when hitting rough terrain. And this can affect the comfort and the precision of a wheel. However, deflection can happen in many different directions. Lateral movement is how much movement the wheel will experience from side to side. Typically, a wider rim doesn't flex or twist as much as a narrower rim. So wider rims can be described as having more lateral stiffness, and a narrow rim could be described as more laterally compliant. Vertical or radial compliance is how well a wheel deforms vertically when load is applied. So this is effectively how much the wheel squashes, say from a perfect circle to an oval. Typically, the depth of the rim will affect its vertical stiffness. So shallower rims are said to be more vertically compliant, and deeper rims are said to be more vertically stiff. This is why shallower rims are said to be more comfortable, especially on rough terrain, and why deep section rims feel so harsh, even when ridden on smooth tarmac. So how can a wheel be both stiff and compliant? It sounds contradictory, but wheel manufacturers are able to play around with the depth and the width of a rim to give the wheel different characteristics that suit different rider needs. Some brands may even change the profile on the front and the back wheel. So for example, the back wheel could have a deeper profile, which means that they're stiffer, they're more efficient in pedaling transfer, and they can take bigger hits too. However, the front may be shallower, which offers more compliance, perhaps for comfort and arm pump related reasons, but also so that they can comply around technical terrain, giving better traction. So your takeaway here is that the rim profile or shape is really important when it comes to stiffness and compliance. And we haven't even started talking about rim material yet. Now, it is a common notion that all alloy wheels are compliant and all carbon wheels are stiff, but it's not that simple. You see, manufacturers can lay up carbon in different ways. Reynolds, for example, use a kind of secret source of resin in their impact dispersal matrix, which gives more vibration damping qualities. And other alloy wheels can be made to be thicker or using different types of alloys in order to give different properties. The key here is that manufacturers are trying to use a combination of all of these things to tune a ride for what they think your rider needs are. So why are some journalists saying that compliance is BS and that you can't have a vertically stiff wheel that is also laterally compliant? Well, let's dive into that a little bit deeper. So a rim can be vertically stiff and also laterally compliant, but how much compliance there actually is another thing, and it is a very small part of a very big picture. There's a much bigger picture to compliance than just the rim itself. Don't forget that there's about 50 mils of compliance to be had from the tyres around the rim, and a fair amount of lateral compliance to be had if you're, say, running low pressures, or even if you run a wider tyre on a narrower rim. Truth be told, the spokes actually provide most of the compliance in a wheel. And this is a great reason why 29ers have more flex than, say, a 27.5 or even a 26-inch wheel, because the spokes are longer and they can therefore deform more easily. And let's not forget that a frame's rear triangle and even a rear shock, if you have one, will offer a great deal of compliance too, making the rim a very small part of the overall bike's compliance. And this is my big conclusion really. It's not that compliance of stiffness is marketing BS per se, but it is a very small part of a much bigger picture. And manufacturers are trying to build rims and wheel sets that work in conjunction with the whole system, with the whole bike itself. And everyone's needs are different and everyone's tastes are different. And of course, their bikes are different too. When we compare a cross-country bike to a downhill bike, for example, the needs of those two bikes and those two riders are very different, and that's why we see such different rim shapes and profiles and materials, and that's why we talk about compliance and stiffness in different ways. But what have you learned from this video? Have I surprised you with any knowledge? Do you notice stiff or compliant wheels, and do you go for one or the other when you choose? Let me know down in the comments below.